I had a gay person on my podcast, and he told me this. He said, amongst my friends, LGB has nothing to do with T. LGB are happy with their own bodies. They're just attracted to the same sex. Ts are not happy with their own bodies, and we have nothing in common. So LGBTQIA++, and all the other letters have nothing to do with the sexual preference, like gays or lesbians. But why do they mix it all up?
Well, because it gives them cover. I mean, if we spent some more time looking at some of these books, you'll see that they have young Black kids masturbating or engaging in sexual behavior. And they do that because then when you call the book out, they can say, oh, you're a racist because you don't like the Black child in here. Or you're homophobic because you don't like the gay person in this. So they're hooking themselves on, and this is called force teaming. It's a brilliant strategy. It's so that people then can call me a bigot and a homophobe, even though I voted for same-sex marriage, even though I have a lot of gay friends. I live in the Bay Area. But that's a way to denigrate what I have to say. And you don't make any money from the LGB because you're not altering bodies. They're not.
Yeah, they're happy with their own bodies.
Yeah, they're not worth money. Who's worth money?
The T's.
The T's. And what they're actually doing, which is just so horrifying, is they're taking children like a Jazz Jennings, who just likes pink, who likes to play with fairies, who may have just grown up to be a gay man. And instead, they're ruining his body, removing his penis, ruining his sexuality. He'll never be able to have pleasure with sex. But they made money off of him. He was worth about $1 million.
$1 million?
Oh, for all the surgeries that he went through? Sure. These kids are dollar signs because they are perpetual medical patients. That means for life. They are on drugs for their entire life. They can no longer produce the hormones that they need to keep them alive.
And who pays for the surgeries? The taxpayers?
Well, it depends. But yeah, here in California, Medi-Cal covers these surgeries. Our tax dollars are used to mutilate children. And then our insurance, our medical insurance, is required to cover these types of interventions. So we're all part of it. We're all paying to destroy children's bodies.
And they do not pay with their own money for the hormones for their entire life? They get it with the Medi-Cal here in California?
They can. They can. So it's a money ball. It's a money play.
Who's responsible for this? Governor? Congress?
Again, so many, right? So we had a small group of activist doctors in 2018, although this was actually happening before then. But we had a group of activist doctors who pushed the American Academy of Pediatrics to say, we're no longer going to do this wait and see with kids who are confused about their gender. We're going to move forward and medicalize them. That was 18 doctors out of 67,000 members of the American Academy of Pediatrics.
18 out of 67,000.
Came up with this policy. And this policy was then adopted. And then the medical community just followed the policy. Who are they to question? They figured that's the right way to go. So that's how they get the medical community doing this horrific things on children. With the schools, they hire outside groups come in and teach all of the teachers about transgenderism. And then our government says all the teachers are required to take X amount of hours of transgender education.
What kind of education this is? What do they teach?
Oh, they teach, first of all, that children can change sex, that there's more than two sexes, that gender identity is real, even though it's not tangible, that you must affirm a child's gender identity regardless of what age they are. And You must hide it from those parents.
AB 1955.
That's correct.
Does it stop with human sexes and genders, or you can be like a tiger, a dog, a cat?
That's a great question. I often ask them that. I'm like, so how many gender identities are there? I mean, there's a doctor, I'm going to use that term. She's a psychologist out in San Francisco, and she claims that there are an infinite number of genders. Infinite. So I would love to ask her, name 100 and define them. I'm sure she can't.
You can't name even 20 and define them.
No, and the definitions are all nonsensical. Even transgender, the definition is incoherent. I don't have a gender. I have a sex.
A sex.
I don't have a gender. What is a gender identity? I wake up every morning and say, do I feel like a woman? No, I just am. So it starts on a nonsensical premise in the first place.
But is there a difference between sex and gender?
There's no such thing as gender.
Gender at all, yeah.
Gender is a word that we used to describe, instead of using the word sex when we were a little more Puritan, we would say gender. Language has gendered nouns, but gender identity is made up.
So in your passport, what does it say? Sex. And
Sex.
there are only two options, correct?
Well, now, I don't know if they've changed it, but now.
If they don't, so they're not inclusive, why they're not so compassionate. But I don't believe that you can have a passport and it's going to be one of the choices of one of 99 genders that you have.
Infinite.
Or infinite.
I mean, there's a pull-down menu at the San Francisco schools for gender. It's got like 25 on there.
Oh, I've seen more than 80 on Wikipedia. One of them, you know what was one of them? Gender fuck. Literally.
I know.
What does it mean?
I don't know.
No one knows.
No one knows. I mean, these are all made-up terms. This is like a game of language. I'm going to be really gross here. They are putting together a chemical concoction for males for some kind of oozing to come out of their breasts. They're feeding infants. That's right. So it's a pedophile's dream. Anime turns into hentai. Hentai is cartoon pornography. It can have incest, bestiality, pedophilia. I mean, pedophilia with like 2-year-olds.
What?
Why are there so many men now, 50-year-old men saying that they're women, leaving their families or leaving their jobs, going into little girls' bathrooms? They are created. I once heard a doctor say, it was exciting. We could change sex. How exciting. And then you have the people who are just in it for the money because, man, the money's good. And then you have the fetish people who are doing it because it's cool to cut off little boys' penises and fashion fake vaginas out of them. It's a fetish. Remember we talked about the pedophilia? So there's adult men with micro penises because they were put on puberty blockers. Their penis never grew to be at the man size, and it never will. When she had her baby, her milk came in, but she doesn't have any breasts.
Oh, wow.
And the doctors didn't know what to do. We're in an incredibly dark place where humanity is disappearing unless we switch really, really quick. This will be the end of our civilization. I don't care what happens to me. I really don't. I only care what happens to the future generations.